Welcome to Your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 453. If you're writing a book or thinking about it or trying to finish a book you've started, you are in the right place. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh, also known as Christine Inc., I-N-K. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 19 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they have the ability to turn a quote-unquote non-author into a published one. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. Here's today's quote. Only by understanding our pain can we begin to control it and find better ways to deal with negative urges. Near Isle. Well, once again, good morning, happy Tuesday. And yesterday, I recorded an upcoming interview episode for the show here where I interviewed job search expert Lauren Herring, who is the CEO of Impact Group, about her upcoming book, which reveals the 10 emotions that job seekers must master to land their next job. And there was just so much value and wisdom in that interview. So make sure you mark your calendar to tune in next week, a week from tomorrow, actually, Wednesday, July 15th, to hear that interview with Lauren. And this got me thinking about all the incredible guests I've had here on the show in our approximately, year and a half long existence. And I have learned so much from them. And based on the emails and messages I get from all of you, I feel like you feel the same way. So here are some of the greatest lessons that I've learned from each of my guests so far here on the show. And I will drop a link in the show notes to my Your Daily Writing Habit interview list on YouTube so you can get caught up on all the genius. And also, there's a few here that are not on that list yet, but the majority are. But you'll be able to explore that list and hopefully follow me on YouTube, Christine Inc. Alrighty. In no particular order, here are some fantastic lessons I've learned from my interview guests. Number 1, I learned from Near Isle, the author of the book Indistractable, that those digital detoxes and other temporary white knuckle, cold turkey unplugging from the internet things are unlikely to work because, as he said in our interview, they don't make us deal with the underlying psychology of why we find ourselves getting distracted by the internet in the first place. Just like with any other habit or addiction, unless you confront the why behind your behavior, any stoppage will unfortunately be a temporary one. And definitely read his book, Indistractable, to learn about that psychology that causes us to be distracted, especially by the internet. Number 2, I learned from Kim Fisk, author of The Monster Under the Bed, Uncovering the Lie That Drives Us, that when we find ourselves experiencing quote-unquote monster thoughts, which are basically limiting beliefs, kind of like perfectionism is an example, it's best to take a deep breath and move from being kind of the person experiencing those thoughts to being the observer of the thoughts. Find a way to be curious or fascinated by any negative things you're thinking about yourself as a way of stepping outside yourself and becoming less anxious about it. Number 3, I learned from Rebecca Forrester, USA Today and Amazon bestselling author of over 39 novels. Wow. That your writing never comes out right the first time, so don't beat yourself up about it. As she said, we are all in this together as authors, so be patient with yourself, embrace the process, and free yourself from self-judgment as your manuscript evolves from draft to draft, to draft, to draft, to draft. Those of you editing your books, you know. I think when I interviewed her, she was releasing the latest installment of her Witness series, and she said she was like on her 10th draft. And this was only a few months to publishing. So we all go through all the editing. And I love especially how she said that we're all in this together, because that really shows just how, how amazing Rebecca is. She's so supportive of first-time authors, even at the level where she is in her career. And by the way, that's another great reason for you to join my Inc. authors group on Facebook that I'm always talking about. Rebecca and other folks like her, but Rebecca Forrester is a member of Inc. authors on Facebook, and she is so amazingly supportive of all the authors in there, especially first-time authors. So you get the wisdom of someone who is, again, a USA Today best-selling author of over 39 novels and just multiple awards. And I mean, she's just amazing. So Inc. Authors on Facebook, great way to ask Rebecca a question, and she will always respond. Number 4. I learned from learning expert Scott Young, author of Ultra Learning, Master Hard Skills, Outsmart the Competition, and Accelerate Your Career, that it's important to expand and extend your existing knowledge and skills to go deeper and deeper by reading more about what you think you already know. This type of learning will add depth and layers to your writing, no matter what you're writing about. Number 5. I learned from Jacksonville Public librarian Lauren Cleveland that as authors, we should all be checking with our local libraries for opportunities to showcase our books there, whether permanently or often for local author events. This also applies to self and independently published authors. Be sure and call your local library because, as she said in our interview, more and more of these libraries are finding ways to feature local authors on their shelves. Number 6. I learned from online branding website and marketing pro Shannon Cheresky the importance of authors having personality photos on their websites. Versatile images of you as an author that go way outside the traditional kind of, boring, regular business headshot. These types of personality images allow you to showcase who you are and the look and feel of your author brand that you're trying to convey. And they certainly add a whole new level of rapport on your website from the typical author stock images of coffee cups and typewriters. Feature yourself and your personality in images on your website. Number 7, and finally from Russell Redenbaugh, author of Shift the Narrative, A Blind Man's Vision for Rewriting the Stories That Limit Us, I learned how we limit ourselves by the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. These stories, Russell says, are made up and therefore completely rewritable. We just have to spot them, determine which ones are not serving us, and make the decision to shift our narratives away from these works of fiction that we've been telling ourselves about ourselves, these things that have in many cases been controlling us and keeping us from getting more of what we want in life. Rewrite your story, shift your narrative. And that is my list of lessons from my guests so far. And I am so grateful for all Your Daily Writing Habit guests. I totally appreciate their time and their wisdom and the value they've brought to all of you. And I'm looking forward to many, many, many more inspiring and educational interviews. And if you know someone who would make a great guest here on the show, especially if they have something to say in one of my areas of 3 pillars, writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits, or really, any author who has some wisdom to share with fellow authors, give me a shout at my website, Christine-Inc.com. There's a contact page, so you can shoot me an email, Christine-Inc.com, and feel free to recommend a guest for me. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. And as I mentioned before, my Inc. Authors group on Facebook is pretty awesome. You get to speak to people like Rebecca Forrester and other pretty well-known authors that are in there, and publishers and graphic designers and publicists and anything you need to help you write your book. Inc. Authors on Facebook. Until tomorrow, happy writing.